Hello everyone, my name is Erica Wade and I am a current academic advisor in the College of Nursing at UW-Milwaukee. I'm also the current WCPA Communications Coordinator, and last year I presented this presentation on civility at our 2016 Fall Conference, and I was surprised and happy to learn that it was voted Best Program. The WCPA is committed to providing more resources to our members. So in August and September this year, we will be giving you access to past programs so you can get a feel for what we offer at our fall conferences. This year's conference will be October 12th and 13th in the Wisconsin Dells. Registration is now open. We have professional, graduate, and one-day registrations, but we're also still taking submission for conference proposals. So if there's something you would like to present, or your campus has something awesome going on and a great program you'd like to share with your colleagues around the state, we are still taking submissions for that. We're also taking nominations for our awards and scholarships, so you can get a better feel of everything that we have at our fall conference. Please visit www.mywcpa.org to register or for more information on conference proposals and awards and scholarships. So without further ado, here is civility from an advisor's perspective. I've been in student affairs for over 10 years now. 6 of those years I've spent advising nursing students. And nursing, of course, is a rigorous, high-stress, and competitive major where students need to apply for entry as undergraduates, which can bring additional feelings of anxiety, sometimes panic. Honestly, the feeling of not being enough, be it good enough or smart enough, whatever the feelings may be when you're competing for clinical seats with your friends and classmates who are sitting right next to you in class, it can be well above and beyond the common stressors a standard undergraduate student may experience. And in the College of Nursing, we are extremely understanding and empathetic to this. I love my job. I have amazing, supportive colleagues and a wonderful boss, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy what I do. And most days I come to work like this. I'm in a good mood. I'm well rested-ish. I know what I'm walking into. I have my day organized, student appointments scheduled, coffee in hand. I'm ready to go. Lately being the last year and a half, I've been having interactions with students where at the end of a day, and I start off like this, I am done. I am exhausted. I'm stressed. I'm in a bad mood. I'm super anxious. I'm taking work home with me emotionally. Just not in a good spot at all. And that's not to say that prior to this time, every day was perfect without tough encounters. I'm a college advisor. That's absolutely not true. But lately, I had been feeling this way a lot more. And I wasn't sure why or what I was going to do about it. All I know is that I was having these interactions with students that left me wondering, is it just me? What is going on? I would see my colleagues leave for the day and think, okay, well, they look intact still, but I would feel like I'm staggering out to my car a frazzled mess. So maybe it is just me. As an advisor, we always know that much of our day, if not all of our day, is student-driven through our appointments alone. And days can get very packed very quickly. And there are definitely peak times of the year where every single meeting time is important because there never seems to be enough hours in the day. So as an example, we'll take a day when I'm completely booked from top to bottom and every single student is running late. So what I would anticipate or appreciate even is, I'm running late. Do you still have time to meet with me? Just a student acknowledging, they know they were running a little bit behind. I don't need to know the details as to why because we've all been there, but it's nice if they would make note of it, apologize, maybe ask if there's still time for the two of us to sit down and talk. That would be my dream scenario. But what I often get is I'm sorry, I didn't hear my freaking alarm, but can we get this done in 10 minutes? I gotta go and get some food because I'm meeting friends for lunch. I get a student that I perceive to be unapologetic, really not taking value in our advisee advisor partnership at all. Like, I'm allowed 10 minutes to quick tell you what you need to know when I blocked off this whole chunk of time for us to sit down and have this meaningful conversation about your degree and future plans. It's not being respectful with my time or his peers because I could have been meeting with another student, and it doesn't make me feel good at all. I mean, as far as value goes, I rank lower than cafeteria pizza, and that does not make me feel good. This before. Well, I'm here now. I share with you a story. I am going to introduce characters. I'll call them late student and early student. So, it was peak advising time. And I had a student that hadn't shown up for an appointment, and I waited a few minutes like I always do because things do happen, but at some point you just have to mark them as a no-show and move on. So that happened this particular day where I waited a few minutes. The early student, my next appointment, had already been there and was waiting. So I just decided to take that student. But 20 minutes into the appointment, all of a sudden my door flies open. And it was a student that was late that says, okay, I'm here. And so I was caught off guard. Like, I didn't expect someone to just, open the door without knocking. And so without really giving it too much thought, I said, oh, well, I'm sorry that you were late. I took the next student. I'm going to have to ask you to reschedule. To me, that seemed like a pretty standard way to handle it. But the late student responded, but this is my appointment time. I made an appointment. So I think, okay, well, let me check my calendar again in case I got confused. And I'm looking at my calendar and I said, no, I have your appointment down for 1 o'clock. It's after 1:20. And the late student responds, my appointment said from 1 to 1:30. If I had come on time, I would still be in here. So this is still my appointment time. And you shouldn't assume I'm just not coming. I was running late. I had to meet with my group. I'm totally speechless at this point. And keep in mind, early student is still in my office sitting and waiting and watching this interaction. And I said, well, I took this student early. I'm like, if you can hold tight for about 10 minutes, I can see you right after I'm done. But that wasn't good enough for the late student. The late student responded, I don't have time to just sit around and wait. I have class at 2 on the other side of campus. And it was at that point, it dawned on me that the late student expected me to ask the early student to leave, to take advantage of these last few remaining minutes in their time block. So my time didn't matter. The other time student didn't matter. The only time that mattered was of the student that was late. And that student left very upset, walked into the main advising office, and then told the advisor they ended up meeting with that I wouldn't meet with them during our scheduled time, and I tried to make them late for class. So experiences like these, all of them are exactly like this one, but they'd been happening more and more. And from my experience, more so when I tried to hold a student accountable for various decisions or actions, and it was leaving me emotionally fatigued and exhausted, often very early on in the day. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that was just my second appointment. I have a whole day to get through. So it had me chatting with my colleagues and friends, like, what's our civility? What's happening on our campuses? Civility, to officially define it, is defined by Merriam-Webster as civilized conduct, especially courtesy and politeness. That's what Merriam-Webster says civility means. But how does that definition apply practically to our expectations of our students and ourselves? One challenge to addressing issues of civility is that so much of it is based on our personal perceptions and preferences. What may really affect or bother me may not even appear on the radar of a colleague. They may not think it's such a big deal. So with that in mind, when I narrow down that broad definition into what it means to me in my professional role, I find civility in expecting that students make and keep their advising appointment, that they're on time, that conversations are respectful despite the topic that may be discussed, accepting accountability for both positive and negative choices, keeping the tone of communication professional and appropriate be it email or face-to-face. But what I feel I experience at an ever-increasing rate is no-show appointments or people showing up very late, or when they get here, they're just not checked into the appointment at all. They might be checking their cell phone or giving one-word answers. It's completely unwilling to have a conversation. I find excuses in place of accountability a lot, or even anger sometimes when you hold students accountable. And it could be just an honest question. The last time we talked about X, but you did Z. Tell me about that. Well, then you get, okay, well, that advisor is abrasive and I want to meet with somebody else. Or I get emails with the rude tone. Getting more rigid. Am I expecting too much? Not enough? I don't know what's going on, but what I do know is that other colleagues and professionals are dealing with this exact same thing, and it has been a jungle to navigate. But part of me even questions where it even comes from. Could it be cultural changes? Is it my inability or lack of desire to keep up with some of the cultural changes? What cultural changes? Well, the one where the golden rule has gone completely out of the window, apparently, because we don't treat people the way we want to be treated. Or is it impolite or just informal? Some students are just more casual than others, and my preferences largely come into play with that. Nowadays, it seems that people are astonished when you get good eye contact and a smile and an honest thank you, because it seems so few and far between now. Our culture is rich in examples of people who I would personally define as rude and insensitive, and it's a draw. You have to think of reality TV where conflict and drama and rude behavior is what gets people to watch, or cultural changes where anyone can create a channel online with content that's meant to draw in viewers and to make money, where with the click of a button on our phone, we can live stream wherever we are in any scenario. Doesn't matter if we're willing participants in that or not. We don't work in an environment anymore where you just need to be careful about what you're putting in writing and what's in emails, because it can get forwarded. We have to worry about our day-to-day interactions going viral. And I do have an example for you. And I'm going to click on this link. Tech savvy enough to get this to actually show the video, but you'll want to click on the link and jump to the 29-second mark, and it shows you the news story about an advisor that had her interaction with a student go viral. Basically, her bad day, unfortunately, got recorded and caused a pretty big firestorm on campus about the academic advisors that were on the campus. But again, like I said, it's a cultural change. We don't have to worry about what we put in emails as much as we do as when people record us when we're not aware of it. This is a good lesson to always be on your A game at all times. You never know when someone's pulling out that phone to record. Was definitely. I realized there weren't any resources really out there, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure this out on my own. And the first thing I asked myself, well, what am I doing right now when these situations come up? How am I positioning? Well, one of the things is that I would just not acknowledge the uncivil behavior. Give students the benefit of the doubt. Well, they're stressed, they're balancing a lot, they're working full time. I'm just not even going to get into it. Just give them the benefit of the doubt and keep it moving. But in hindsight, I realized that was one of the worst things that I could have done. A student coming in, being in civil, and someone just turning a blind eye to it basically is permission for them to talk to another staff member or faculty member or student that way. So as a whole, within the college and the campus, I am absolutely enabling the culture that we have going on right now. Other times, I would just give them what they want. Let's be honest. Incivility works most of the time. If you're in a store and there's a customer that's being loud and abrasive and causing a scene, you more often than not will see a manager or associate come up, give them what they want to get the customer out the door and to keep them happy. I mean, if ranting and raving and causing a scene is going to get you what you want, why wouldn't you do it? So if a student came in and maybe wasn't being the nicest, I would just give them what they want, just to keep the interaction as short as possible. I found myself getting a lot more rigid, and then figure out ways I should have handled it in hindsight. And I wasn't okay with it. I wanted to perform better. I wanted to feel better. And I wanted to deal with in civil encounters in a way that I was comfortable with. So honestly, I just started trying things. Now, these are not groundbreaking strategies by any means, but they worked for me. And my confidence grew. And things stopped bothering me so much because I handled it in a direct yet respectful and professional way. And I noticed that my perceptions and my triggers started to soften. So I learned that my perceptions changed when I remembered to do 4 things. Is to stay formal. And I don't mean like, oh, you must schedule an appointment, you must call me Ms. Wade, blah, blah, greetings and salutations, not that type of formal, but I mean more in email. Because students email like they text, and they don't always have like a greeting or a closing. So like this, here's an example for you. This is a real email. This makes my heart hurt. It makes me sad. It makes me feel irrelevant. It makes me feel like, why try? Because I communicated our policy of mandatory advising appointments to get your hold release. I can't tell you how many times since I've been doing this. And you didn't even bother to put your name at the bottom of the email. So I'm not important enough to get the extra finger taps it takes to at least capitalize the beginning of a sentence, right? So this would always bother me. It still does bother me. And I didn't like this email for so many reasons that I could have just quick hit reply, shot a quick email back. You need to make an appointment, but I'd also be missing some teaching. Now I keep the formality in all of my emails. I always include a greeting, and I always sign my name. Even if it's a back and forth interaction where we might end up sending maybe 3 or 4 emails, I always put that in there. It sets an expectation. It keeps formality. It maintains professionalism, but I'm still being helpful and approachable. So the student will still feel comfortable meeting with me, even though they were held accountable that they need to schedule their appointments in order to get that hold release. Another thing that I do, and I think this has been one of the more important things that I've been trying, that I really, really like this, is clarifying my intent. This helps so much from an accountability standpoint. One, it reinforces your advisor-advisee relationship. Like, I am here to help or refer or inform you of blank. It also gets you permission to ask the blunt question. So if there is an accountability issue that's there, you can say, listen, my intent is to help you and be a good resource while you're here on our campus, but I have to ask, how come blank happened? I have really gotten positive responses by just clarifying my intent. I'm not here to parent. I'm not here to hand slap or scold you in any way. I honestly am here to help. And in order for me to do that, I gotta ask, why did you do that? This kind of thing. I do is slow down, hit the pause button. If I get a phone call or an interaction or even an email, just pause. How is this making me feel? Why am I so bothered? Instead of responding right away, even if it's face-to-face in an interaction, I'll say, give me just one moment. Just think about what I'm trying to say. How am I feeling? Is it because my dog decided to take forever that morning and I was late to work and I was already frazzled, or did this really just bother me? Blowing and learning to slow down. How am I feeling? Why am I bothered? And how can I get over it really, really quickly? And the last thing is not to forget to empathize. Yes, I can address uncivil behavior. Yes, I can hold a student accountable, but I have to remember with each and every single encounter that students are dealing with real, complex, often difficult situations, financial stress, relationship strains, fatigue, homelessness, unplanned pregnancies, coming out. Like nothing can drive a wedge in between your relationship with your advisees faster than losing that empathy. I come back to this often and always. I think this drives my student appointments and my interactions more now than ever. But there's no one better to talk about empathy than Brene Brown, and I do have a closing video here. Favorite little snippets to watch when I have a spare moment. It takes maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Because I know it won't work, I'm not going to press play, but I do encourage you to press play, watch the video, and maybe try out some of these strategies. Like I said, they're not groundbreaking, but they're what I have found that works for me. Keeps me focused, keeps me happy, keeps me feeling that I'm doing my most effective job I can as an advisor, but also not sacrificing my relationships while I'm doing that. I hope you have enjoyed this. Again, we will have another video for you next month. You'll find presentations like this and much, much more at our fall conference. So please do not forget to register, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.